Dolphins fans, today's show is presented by Manscaped. Get 20% off and free shipping on all their top-of-the-line men's grooming products when you use promo code DOLPHINS over at manscaped.com. We're taking a look at some top free agent targets today for the Miami Dolphins. Training camp has arrived for the rookies, not so much for some of the veterans, but that'll get going in the near future. So we're going to break down some of the top free agent targets the Dolphins could still sign. Reminder, they have an open roster spot. First up on the list, right? It is Dalvin Cook. This one I think is pretty damned obvious. Cook and the Dolphins have been linked even before he was cut by the Vikings. He had been tied to the organization as a possible trade option during the NFL draft. Afterwards, did not materialize. Dolphins draft Devon Achane. Then they choose to cut Dalvin Cook. Now, the Dolphins have an offer out to Cook right now that was clearly viewed as not enough by his camp, because otherwise Cook would have signed and he'd been ready to go before training camp even got started. The Dolphins still have interest. That has not changed. Raheem Mostert is RB1, Jeff Wilson the second. Our option, Devon Achane, Myles Gaskin, Savon Ahmed. Those are the options currently on this Dolphins roster, but it's very obvious by their pursuit of Cook, they're looking to add some more talent at the position. So will the Miami Dolphins end up landing Dalvin Cook? Y for yes, they will. N for no, they will not. Get those answers in for me in the comment section. Y for yes, N for no, a very common question here on the show. I do know. All right, I want to make sure you guys are part of the Noti gang here at Dolphins Today. Don't miss out on any video. I know Will's gone. We'll have a new full-time host in the near future. I'm just the interim. But we're still giving you guys Dolphins videos every single day. Be the first to know news when it happens. Click the bell icon. Change it from personalized to all. That way you don't miss a video. And we get to keep expanding us here at Chat Sports. And as a bonus, I get to feed my family and my 20-month-old. There are some other running back options who are out there. Kareem Hunt, Ezekiel Elliott, and as of filming, Leonard Fournette. I will make note that Fournette is taking a visit with the New England Patriots. He's working out there, which would actually be a good outcome for those of you who want Dalvin Cook in Miami, because that takes off one of the top threats to sign Cook. The issue with all three of these guys is they weren't the best players last year. Kareem Hunt's efficiency fell off a cliff. Fournette's efficiency was really bad. Zeke's was not good either. They all averaged under 4 yards a carry, and that should raise red flags because 4 yards per carry is kind of your bench line for being average. If it's not above 4 yards, I can find that level of production on the super cheap and not pay a more premium cost for a veteran. So of all the free agent backs out there, name one who you want to sign. You can't say Dalvin Cook. We already asked the Cook question today. Outside of Dalvin Cook, what free agent do you guys want to sign? No Dalvin Cook's at the pinned comment of today's video. So if the ad comes here on YouTube, take advantage of it. Go down there and name a player not named Dalvin Cook. Maybe Dalton Risner is an option here. He is one of the better offensive guards out there in the free agent market. I'm a little surprised at this stage that Risner is still unsigned. I know he didn't play the best last season. His numbers kind of dipped a little bit, wasn't nearly as efficient, allowed more sacks, more hits, way more hurries. His run blocking wasn't as good. There's some reports that maybe teams don't think Risner has much left in the tank, but he's also just finishing up his first contract, and the Broncos were a dumpster fire of a mess last season. Plus, Liam Eichenberg wasn't very good. Isaiah Wynn, well, maybe Wynn can be your guy, but I also think that if you had to, Risner could play at right guard if, God forbid, Robert Hunt went down, or even get some center reps. He played some of that at Kansas State. So I like the idea of adding another offensive lineman. That was your guard option. Here's your center option. That's Ben Jones, the former Titans center, who I am a little bit surprised is unsigned. Now, he was coming off some injury stuff last year. He's definitely getting up there in age, but his numbers are still pretty solid. Now, centers in general don't allow the same level of sacks, hits, or hurries because they're not often matched up one-on-one. They frequently either help or get help from a guard. But he's still graded out pretty well. And if you want a center option, if you want to maybe move Connor Williams back to guard or something, which not sure that's the Dolphins' plan, but just throwing out hypotheticals here, then Jones does fit. The tackle market, not the best, because in general, NFL teams don't allow starting caliber offensive linemen to remain unsigned because there is a dearth of talent at the position across the NFL. George Fant did get some starts last year. He's had starts previously, and he was better in 2021 than he was in 2022, where he frankly struggled. The numbers regressed pretty significantly. He got beat in both the pass and the run game. I do still think he could help you as a swing tackle. Is he better than Austin Jackson? I don't really know. He might be better than Cedric Ogbuehi. And given where the Dolphins' offensive line has been the past couple of seasons, they should turn over every stone for potential offensive line help. Now, today's show is made possible by Manscaped. Get 20% off and free shipping all of their top-of-the-line men's grooming products when you use promo code DOLPHINS over at manscaped.com. That does include the Performance Package 4.0. Got the Lawnmower 4.0, the Weed Whacker 2.0, the most comfortable boxers known to mankind, ball toner, ball conditioner, and more. I mentioned my 21-month-old baby, Olivia. Love her to death. She arrived after we got started with Manscaped, both conceived and birth. So you can connect the dots there in terms of if that played a factor. I kind of think that it does. You can always ask my wife if you want to as well. But get 20% off and free shipping when you use promo code DOLPHINS, DOLPHINS, at manscaped.com. Links in the comments section, and it's in the description, by the way, of today's show. Some defensive players now. John Johnson. I think the presence of Ezekiel Elliott at safety 3 might make this spot okay, but I'm also intrigued by Johnson specifically because Vic Fangio is now in town as the team's defensive coordinator. Johnson spent the last few years with the Cleveland Browns. Before that, he was out in Los Angeles playing with the LA Rams, where the Rams, under defensive coordinator Brandon Staley, ran a Vic Fangio-modified defense with Johnson being in charge of calling the defensive plays. That seems like a pretty noteworthy connection and potential quicker adjustment time for where he would be at joining the defense pretty late. It depends on, is he willing to do a non-starting role? I think because Javon Holland's not going to sit the bench. Brandon Jones, I kind of want to give him a starting spot. Ezekiel Elliott's actually a fine number 3, if not a low-end number 2. Do you trust Verone McKinley III to be your 4th? And/or does Johnson want to potentially have to play some special team stuff? That's the danger of veterans. Those guys don't want to help and can't help as much on teams. Brings down their value pretty significantly. All right, back to offense here. How about Cameron Brate, the tight end? I am not in love with what Brate brings the modern-day NFL offense at his age. The days of him being, the 600-ish yard player, they're gone, man. I mean, he's barely hit that number the past 3 years combined. He just hasn't been that caliber of player anymore. Has always been a good red zone threat. Still can bring that. He had no scores last year, but 4 on 30 catches the year before that. But I have interest in adding a tight end because I don't love the room right now. Durham Smythe, Elijah Higgins is kind of a receiver tight end hybrid. Tyler Kroft, Eric Saubert, Tanner Conner. That's just kind of like a, if you weren't a fan of the Dolphins, you might go, is that a Madden-generated list of names? Like, are those all fake names? Of course, we're all fans of the Dolphins, so everyone knows, but it's not a great group. The issue is not very many good tight end free agents. It's a pretty rough class out there. Our goal is 43,000 subscribers here on Dolphins Today, ideally before preseason games get going. I think we can get there, but we're still over 500 away. So if you haven't already and you want more free Dolphins videos, hit that sub button right now. How about a reunion with Jarvis Landry? Things did not end that well, although I do think the Dolphins were mostly right to move on from Landry given what the cost was. They have Braxton Berrios in the slot, but he's a notable name, so hey, I wanted to make note of him. I'm actually not that intrigued despite, him being a former Dolphin, and the numbers very clearly bear out why. Catches, yards, average, touchdowns. Games played. Every single stat since 2019, Jarvis Landry has regressed. He is not the same player he was in Miami, and I think, honestly, Braxton Berrios, Robbie Chosen, Eric Zukama, Cedric Wilson even, you're getting the same, if not a little bit better, caliber of play. So at that point, what's the benefits in having Landry back on the roster. But he's a name you all know. So what would you do? Would you bring back Landry? S for you'd sign him. P for pass. You're not interested. You think the Dolphins can do better or already have better on the roster. Get those votes in for me in the comment section right now. S for sign. P for pass. Another reunion, Melvin Ingram, who, much like Justin Houston, the other ageless wonder at defensive end, edge rusher spot, these guys do continue to produce at a pretty solid level. He played 17 games last season. Hey, he had 6 sacks. It was a bit of a resurgent season, for Ingram, plus 7 TFLs as well, after not having a big impact the previous 2 seasons. From a talent perspective, this is probably one of the better names on the list, again, despite the age being a factor from that perspective. It's a matter of, do you have the need? You have Jalen Phillips. You have Bradley Chubb. I'm kind of intrigued by Malik Reed as another backup. Emmanuel Ogbah will get reps at outside linebacker, defensive end, etc. I don't mind. Andrew Van Ginkel was kind of an inside-outside hybrid to an extent, but probably getting more outside stuff. I don't think you have the need because you made the trade for Bradley Chubb and you have healthier options at this point. One more, I'll say kind of bold target, Isaiah Rodgers. Now, this is probably someone you cannot sign currently. I would say in large part because his camp probably doesn't want to sign, and the NFL was probably like, hey, don't sign him. The Colts cut Rodgers after it was revealed he had bet on NFL games, including, but potentially not limited to, significant wagers involving over-under props for rushing yards, I believe, for Jonathan Taylor, which that would be insider trading because Rodgers knows the detailed game plan, etc. He is suspended at minimum for the entire season, but he was a promising young cornerback before the suspension. So this could be maybe you convince him to sign now and you let him sit out the suspension, bring him in next year, kind of like the Calvin Ridley trade by the Jags. And you don't need a corner right now. You're not going to get Rodgers right now. But he played about half the snaps last year, by the way. So you can double those numbers. It's actually still pretty good. Jalen Ramsey, Xavier Howard aren't going to be there forever. What if you had long-term Cam Smith, Kader Kohu, and Isaiah Rodgers as your options? I mean, he'd be your Noah Igbinoghene replacement at least next year. So it's an outside-the-box, probably won't be allowed type of move. But I wouldn't necessarily rule it out altogether.